welcome to this new video for my channel, The Mental Traveler. I'm Caro Herrera, and today I'm going to be reviewing the movie franchise of Pirates of the Caribbean. The series consists of 5 movies. The first one was released in 2003, and it's called The Curse of the Black Pearl. The second one came out in 2006, and it's known as Dead Man's Chest. The third installment was released a year later, and its title is At World's End. The fourth movie came out in 2011, and it's called On Stranger Tides. And the fifth and last film until now was released in 2017, and it's known as Dead Men Tell No Tales. All of these movies have some really good actors in them. For example, Johnny Depp, Keira Knightley, Geoffrey Rush, Bill Nighy, Ian McShane, Stellan Skarsgård, Sam Claflin, Orlando Bloom, Tom Hollander, Penelope Cruz, Javier Bardem, Jonathan Pryce, Chow Yun-fat, Naomi Harris, Gaya Scodelario, Richard Griffiths, David Wenham, Oscar Jaenada, among many others. Anyways, before I begin though, let me just say that this will be a review with mild spoilers. So if you haven't seen the Disney films, you might want to beware. My introduction to Pirates of the Caribbean was when I was 10 years old and I went to Disney for the first time in Orlando. And I went on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And I'm not quite sure if it was like a year later that the movie came out, but I remember being with my sister like, remember that boat ride that we took, that attraction? Anyways, I grew up falling in love with these movies. I am so attached to them. They made my teenage years. And I can still remember the night that I saw the first film. I was around 11, I guess. And I was staying over at my sister's house. And she had just bought Curse of the Black Pearl on DVD. And I watched it with her and her husband. But I remember that she was telling me to cover my eyes whenever the skeletons would come on screen, because I've always been kind of scared of skeletons. But by the time the second movie came out, I was a very impressionable teenager who very soon found herself in love with Captain Jack Sparrow. And to this day, I still have my poster of him on my bedroom wall. But anyways, my best friend from childhood, Hannah / Read My Midnight, a fellow bibliophile bookstagrammer, was also a big fan of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I remember that I was Team Jack and she was Team Will. And because we also loved Lord of the Rings, I remember that I was Team Aragorn and she was Team Legolas. And it's funny now in hindsight to think that I always liked the more dirty, dangerous guys, whereas she would prefer Orlando Bloom playing these really good people. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, I would hazard a guess that because of that nostalgic elements, the first 3 movies would be my favorite out of the whole franchise. Only because I grew up watching them, because the last 2 came out when I was older, so I wasn't as impressed by them as I was when I was a teenager. But yeah, in the end, for reasons I shall mention later, overall I've rewatched countless times all 5 movies. When I had a fish, I even named it after Captain Jack Sparrow. And after the 4th movie came out, I started writing the first chapters of a fanfiction where I wrote Captain Jack falling in love with a noble rich lady that looked like Emily Blunt. But then by the time the 5th movie had come out 2 years ago, I didn't feel as excited about it as I did for the others. But over the summer of 2019, I started rewatching the movies because I hadn't seen them in years. And my passion for them all grew. I appreciate them just as much as I did when I was a teenager. I still have a crush for Jack Sparrow, I'm happy to say. And I found my old fanfic and I started reading it. And it's a bit sad that it doesn't much make sense after the 5th movie because it kind of messes with my timeline. So if I ever go back to it, I would have to make some major changes. I also wish that I could read the 2-book series that Disney Press has released about Jack Sparrow, but unfortunately I haven't been able to find all of the books so that I can read them. But just in case you're interested, I'm talking about the 13 Jack Sparrow's books that show the adventures of the famous pirate when he was a boy, as well as Legends of the Brethren Court series, which are set some 13 years before the events of the Curse of the Black Pearl. Anyways, as I was in the middle of my countless recent rewatches of Pirates of the Caribbean, a really close friend of mine asked me to go with her on this cruise on the Caribbean, so it would be my first time going there, and I was really excited because I can't wait to see all the old forts where pirates once attacked, as well as actually being on a ship and imagining that rather than being on a serious cruise, I'm on an old buccaneer ship sailing for an adventure on some treasure island or something. But just in case you're wondering or would like to recommend me some piratey sites that I could go to the places I'm gonna visit, I'm gonna go to St. Martin's, Puerto Rico, and the Bahamas. The first movie basically deals with the following events. There is this young noble English girl called Elizabeth Swann, who on her way to Port Royal, Jamaica, ends up befriending a boy called Will Turner, who has a mysterious pirate medallion in his possession. Years later, we see that they're attracted to each other, but Will is just a blacksmith, whereas Elizabeth is a governor's daughter, so society expects her to make a better match. Into the lives of these star-crossed lovers enters the iconic Captain Jack Sparrow, a famous pirate whom any description I could think of for him would fail to give him justice. So let's just say that when cursed pirates attack Port Royal, kidnapping Elizabeth, Will decides to go rescue her with the help of Jack Sparrow, who just happens to have special history in connection with these fearsome pirates. In the second movie, we see how the actions of the first film will affect the futures of the three main characters. For example, Will and Elizabeth's wedding is interrupted when Cutler Beckett, a member of the East India Trading Company, arrests them for their part in helping Jack Sparrow escape justice at the end of the first movie. So Will and Elizabeth end up trying to find Captain Jack, who has mysteriously disappeared. And the reason behind this is that the famous Davy Jones is looking for Jack because Sparrow has a deathly debt to pay him. Will and Elizabeth, along with their pirate friends, must try and find Jack Sparrow in Davy Jones's locker, even as they fight against their unified enemies, Davy Jones and the East India Trading Company. To do this, they also require the aid of the pirate lords that belong to the Brethren Court, so we get to meet pirates from different nationalities. Will and Elizabeth do not appear in this film, but Jack does. We see him meeting the King of England, we see him facing Blackbeard, we see him meet up with a former lover, and we also go along with him as he tries to find the Fountain of Youth, encountering mermaids and zombies along the way. The last film is set many years after the last ones, and in here we get to meet Will and Elizabeth's son, who is on a quest to free his father from the curse that has him bound to be the captain of the Flying Dutchman. This young man is called Henry, and we see how Henry, along with Jack Sparrow and a fierce, intelligent, beautiful young woman, try to find the Trident of Poseidon, so that this can be accomplished. Still, there are many difficulties along the way, since some fierce and cursed Spanish pirates who are on the hunt for Jack managed to escape their prison inside the Devil's Triangle and are intent on revenging themselves on the much-beloved pirate. I give the Pirates of the Caribbean series a 5 out of 5 stars review because I am amazed by their commitment to world building and their attention to detail, and because they managed to make me feel as excited about them as a young woman as I did when I was a teenager. And I've always been a history lover, so it's fascinating to learn all these myths and legends about a period in time when pirates ruled the seas. And we're talking here about the 18th century, I think, at least in the movies. Still, I want to go into more detail as to why I love each film. For example, I really love this movie, and I think it's the best one out of all the franchise because it's the most realistic. It's maybe not the one that I enjoy the most, but it is also not as over the top as the other ones. And yet, despite the fact that we have a ghost ship and cursed pirates, it really feels believable in comparison to the others. It's also iconic in my opinion because it's the first one, and this was the introduction of Jack Sparrow to the world. And Johnny Depp was so iconic in it that he was even nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for this role. Also, Elizabeth's costumes here are just gorgeous. I really love this one growing up. I love the idea of Davy Jones being a bitter man because he had once loved a woman. I love the sexual tension between Jack and Elizabeth, and I just love the whole concept of Davy Jones, and since I really like historical fiction romance books with men of the East India Trading Company falling in love with English girls in the colonies of the British Empire, it's interesting to see this other aspect of it, that of the company being this avaricious, grasping, power-hungry corporation intent upon controlling the whole world. I also really like this film growing up, and since it's in a way the conclusion of several plot stories that we've been following for the previous movies, it's a really exciting conclusion. I think that it has many intriguing storylines because I love the whole idea of people once thinking that at the end of the world you could find dragons. And here we see our treasure characters sailing to those seas and trying to come back from them. And there's this really cute line that Davy Jones says to his lost long love that always breaks my heart. And I think that though I never really cared much for Will Turner growing up, I really like the bittersweet take his story takes at the end of this movie. Despite the fact that we don't get to see Will and Elizabeth, I like the idea of trying to find the Fountain of Youth, that we also get to see Jack having feelings for a woman that, despite the fact that she knows how to fight, she is also shown to be vulnerable and not afraid to show her feelings. Plus, the whole Blackbeard storyline is intriguing and makes me want to research more about the real pirate. But I think that my favorite bit about On Stranger Tides are the mermaids, and the love story between a priest and a mermaid. The former because mermaids have always fascinated me, and they are shown to be really hauntingly beautiful and dangerous creatures in this film, and the eerie music and songs that they made for them in here are just gorgeous. I could listen to them for hours, literally. But also, as to the love story between the priest and the mermaid, I really, really loved it, and I would gladly watch a whole movie or read a book series or watch a mini-series of a handsome Catholic priest and a lovely mermaid falling in love against all odds. And the way the story ends is just perfect. I would also watch a sequel of them. This movie has grown on me over time because the first 2 times I watched it, I didn't really care that much for it. But during my recent rewatching of the series, I've come to appreciate it. I like the idea of the Trident of Poseidon because it reminds me of The Little Mermaid, but I also enjoy that we get to meet Will and Elizabeth's son, and that we catch up with what they've been up to in a way. Finally, I really like the character of Karina Smith because I like her backstory, her quest to find who she really is, her desire to connect with her father, her gumption, her confidence in herself, and I like the way she comes to terms with who her father was. But also, I think she's a likable character because she's just so confident of herself and refuses to give up even when the whole world is against her. The only thing that I could criticize about Dead Men Tell No Tales is the fact that I don't like at times how they are portraying Jack. Sure, he's always loved to drink, but in here I feel that he was trying to be even drunker than usual. I mean, compare his opening shot from the first movie to the one in this one, and it just makes me feel like a bit of a calm down for him. And also, seriously, he and Gibbs just don't seem to age. They both look practically the same except for the fact that Jack now has blonde hair. But well, other than that, I also like this film. The bad guy's storyline is interesting, and I have always been intrigued by the Devil's Triangle. There have been many talks about making a 6th Pirate of the Caribbean's film, but from what I've researched, there's nothing really concrete as yet. Some sources say that it's going to be spin-off, not really taking Jack Sparrow into account, so I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of it all. I guess that I would probably watch it, and I might really enjoy it in the end if it doesn't have Jack. I don't know. But if it does has Jack, I would feel excited about it. But I also think that sometimes it's just best to let a good franchise end on a sort of high note without squeezing as much material out of it, because sometimes it's not even that well constructed and it's just done for the sakes of making money. But yes, anyways, for the moment I believe that this is all I have to say about Pirates of the Caribbean. Thank you so much for watching my review of these movies. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you did or if you didn't, and I would love to talk about them with you, so share your own thoughts about them as well with me, please. In the description box below you can find a link to all of the IMDB pages for each movie. And well, anyways, I'm Caro Herrera, the Mental Traveler, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I'll be seeing you soon. Take care, and goodbye, mateys!